Welcome to Chai Chat.
Welcome. I'm very happy to be here.
Hello, guys.
Very, very happy.
How you guys doing? We had
Good.
First Communion today, right?
Yeah, we did.
By we, I mean you. I didn't show up. Sorry.
We could talk about that
I'm
later.
neglectful. I was coughing, man.
How
I
are
don't
you
have
feeling, by
COVID.
the
I
way?
do not have COVID. I'm fine.
Yeah?
You just have like whatever.
Listen, could you preach, by the way, with all that coughing? Because last time you were coughing a lot.
No, I'm okay, I think.
Are you taking
I'm taking a lot of, what do you call it?
Mucinex?
No, I'm even past that stage. I'm just taking vitamins now. Why are we talking about this? They're all going to be like,
no,
oh, Father.
because everyone cares about your well-being.
By the time
We
they
care about-
see this, it's going to be 4 days from now, and then 2 weeks from now, I'm going to get a bottle of NyQuil after I'm all better. That's how the timeline works.
Okay.
It's like, what's our topic?
So
So today's May 1st. They're going to be watching it on like May 3rd or 4th, but
hopefully,
hopefully. But it's May 1st, so it's the beginning of the month of Mary, right?
Mhm.
when was that established, by the way?
I think because the crowning of Mary is at the end of the month,
There's a lot of Marian feast
and
days.
then we have one,
we have
May
May
14th
15th,
or 15th. Oh,
which is Our Lady of the Fields.
Our Lady of the Fields.
And
What is it?
What is it? There's a
there's a bunch of stuff
there's
in
always
May.
a crowning
Yeah,
at
that's
the
what it
end.
is.
I don't know where it
Yeah.
originated, but I'm
anyway, May is
guessing
the month of
people are going to
Mary.
be watching this
There was a
for
Pope,
answers.
I think it was Pius XII.
We gotta
I
give
don't
him
remember
answers.
Exactly. One of these more recent
I'm gonna Google
20th
it.
century popes, anyways, had said that the faithful had always has been for a long time attributing May to Mary.
Yeah.
So then he kind of
Honestly, you know what my honest theory is? It just kind of looks like Mary.
Yeah.
May,
May,
it's
yeah,
just one
that's
letter
what
off,
I've
you just add
always
an
thought.
R. That's why I
Turn
always
on
thought
your
of it
mic.
associated
Mic
with
is
Mary.
off.
Okay, let me read something from the Bible.
So literally everything you said, right?
Oh, is your mic off?
yeah.
Yeah.
Say that again. Did you catch it? You good? Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
What'd you say?
Pius XII.
In the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from God to a town of Galilee called Nazareth to a virgin betrothed to a man named Joseph of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Mary. And coming to her, he said, "Hail, full of grace, the Lord is with you." But she was greatly troubled at what was said and pondered what sort of greeting this might be. Then the angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. Behold, you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you shall name him Jesus. He will be great and will be called Son of the Most High, and the Lord will give him the throne of David his father, and he will rule over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there will be no end." But Mary said to the angel, "How can this be, since I have no relations with a man?" And the angel said to her in reply, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore the child to be born will be called Holy, the Son of God. And behold, Elizabeth, your relative, has also conceived a son in her old age, and this is the 6th month for her who was called barren, for nothing will be impossible for God." Mary said, "Behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord. May it be done to me according to your word." And the angel departed from her. It's Luke in the 1st chapter.
I wish I had 1%, just 1% of her thoughtfulness that she had during that dialogue with the angel Gabriel.
Thoughtfulness and trust,
Thoughtfulness, trust, and
courage.
inquiring
Yep.
the truth,
Yep.
and wouldn't do anything, just
Obedience,
obedience, unbelievable.
docility.
Yeah. One of the things that I always wonder about when I read the passage is that it says that she was fearful, kind of, but not at the fact that there was an angel there. It says she wondered at the words he said, right? That's
What
it
sort
says?
of greeting this
Yeah.
might be.
So it wasn't like it didn't even faze her for a second, the fact that there's an angel standing in front of her. She just went to go think about, what does this mean? What could it mean for myself?
Yeah, what manner of greeting I think would indicate she's wondering whether it's good or evil.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think the thing that she was troubled at is this messenger from God or from the devil?
Yeah.
That's the thing she was troubled at. And I think her question is about that.
Yeah.
How shall this be? This is an inquiry, like, this is not the first time somebody was promised something.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's a dialogue. This is like an old thing. I haven't looked at it in years and years,
You
but
translated it.
there's so Mar Narse, who's one of our church fathers, who died in around 503. We have a lot of his hymns and stuff in the liturgy. He wrote a dialogue, like a play, between Mary and this angel, basically based on this passage that I just read. And in that dialogue, it's this kind of extended sort of version of this conversation, Mary constantly keeps asking questions, and she's like over and over again, like liaha, to the angel, and then finally you get to the reason why she's asking questions. She's saying because Eve also was offered a fruit, so the fruit of your womb kind of thing, which isn't said till later, but Eve was also offered a fruit, and there was also sort of miracles and something like supernatural promised there. You'll be like God, and she was tricked. And so now you see Mary's questions in Luke, Narse is interpreting as Mary is worried she doesn't want to be like Eve. And I think the depiction here is Mary, the new Eve, did what the original Eve couldn't. She asked the right questions, and she did God's will rather than the will of the evil one. Mm-hmm. And in order to do God's will rather than the will of the evil one, a good heart is not enough. You have to ask questions and have a smart brain. And that's why you were saying inquisitiveness and intelligence and that sharpness of Mary's mind, that's required. Just being a good person, I'm just going to sort of have a good intention. That's great. It's important and necessary and difficult, but it's not enough. You also have to have wisdom.
And I think, so Mary's seat of wisdom.
Seat of wisdom
is
yeah.
like one of the best, and I think it's underemphasized, really.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this tradition in art, Western art, with Mary. I don't know what it's called exactly. I don't know if it has a proper name, but she's essentially a contemplative, and it's this tradition of Mary reading books. She's being a contemplative, reading books. She either has a Bible or some other like really holy text or something that she's reading, but she was a reader in the text. Now, probably historically, she probably wasn't.
Yeah, women were not allowed to be educated sometimes in some of these old cultures and stuff.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, you never
There's
know.
also traditions that she was sort of associated with the temple, and they may have taught her to read there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those are all sort of extra biblical things. We don't really know those for sure.
Yeah, it's just, I've always, I actually love that painting so much and that tradition of that painting so much because it shows Mary from this other side. We see her always as a pious woman and as a good and obedient woman and everything.
Yeah.
But not so much as a contemplative. I mean, especially women in ancient times, that wasn't one of their characteristics. And Mary, if she was certainly a contemplative,
Yeah.
whether or not she was a reader also,
Yeah.
and kind of an intellectual
Yeah.
in this case.
I like that because it's not like when you stress one virtue to the exclusion of others, you get an incomplete picture.
Yeah, exactly.
So a lot of times we'll really stress Mary's obedience. Amazing, absolutely. But her obedience came after her inquisitiveness. She
Yeah.
verified this was God's will. Mm-hmm. After that, she was obedient. So one of the paintings that I was thinking about, maybe we could send these to
Yeah,
Steve,
yeah.
and he can. So you send him yours, and he can post
Nice.
it. The one I don't know how I'll be able to find it. Hopefully, I'll be able to find it. Is it's got Mary. Her arms are open like this. The angel's in front of her. Her arms are open like this, but her legs are crossed at the ankle, and that's an interesting sort of combination where you have purity with the sort of legs crossed, which is a great virtue of hers, but she's also open to God at the same point, at the same moment. So there's openness, but also means closeness to evil. Openness to God and being close to evil, those are complementary virtues.
There is, to piggyback off of that, so there is also the idea of where she was at in her betrothal to Joseph at that time, because at that time, I mean, any typical betrothal, that engagement was practically like a marriage, right? And at that point, they would have already consummated. But when she says, "How can this be?" she's verifying that this is never going to happen
She's
in
still
the
a
first
virgin,
place.
yeah.
She's still a virgin and will stay a virgin.
Yeah.
So, looking at that aspect too of her thoughtfulness and her understanding the tradition, understanding the scriptures, understanding her surroundings and everything around her, it sort of gives us another picture of who Mary is and how anything that she said was for a reason, right? There weren't any empty words, or she wasn't just saying things just to say it,
Can I comment on, in case they missed it, what you said was really important. How shall this be? If Mary's asking, how shall this be? How shall I have a son? If she's intending to be married in a normal way and have kids with Joseph, that question
Invalid.
makes no sense at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
So her asking that question, how shall I have a son, indicates that she was intending to remain a virgin. That's
Yeah.
your point. I wanted to say that because it was a really good point, really important point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Augustine's argument.
Yeah.
That she
Yeah.
was, like what you said earlier, she's one of those temple virgins, you know.
Yeah.
That Anna and Joachim, right? Or
Had like presented her to the temple.
Yeah.
There's extra biblical literature. There's literature outside the Bible that have these other legends about Mary that we're not sure about. But
Yeah.
even without that, though, the question in the Bible itself indicates.
that is a good implicit argument
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the temple of virginity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's an explicit argument for the virginity,
Yeah.
for the perpetual virginity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's more biblical evidence for the fact of her being a contemplative person. When Luke mentions a couple times in the infancy narratives, she kept these things, pondering them in her heart.
Yeah. She was a thoughtful
after-
person.
Yeah. So after a couple instances of the life of Jesus that Luke writes with such detail, and Luke is obviously writing these stories so much after the events actually happened, and so Mary remembers those little details of the life of Christ, and she was thinking about them and pondering them in her heart, and so it just shows her contemplative nature with these.
And Luke is essentially naming her as one of his sources.
Yeah, basically.
She kept these
Yeah.
things in her heart, and she told me, and I wrote it down.
And
Yeah.
Luke says at the beginning of his gospel that he
Interviewed many people.
interviewed many witnesses.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, he had to have interviewed her for
Yeah.
like her, the
Of all people to like, obviously you're going to
Yeah.
ask her. Like, oh yes,
And even within that dialogue, I think after they finish, she finishes that dialogue with the angel Gabriel. I think she also sees what's in store for her later on in her life. For example, when she has that conversation with Simeon in the temple, a sword shall pierce your heart.
Yep.
She knows exactly what that means, and she knows what that's going to entail, but she never backs off of it.
Yeah.
So even though it says she's fearful, it's not necessarily the fear and anxiety that we're probably thinking of, but it's understanding the responsibility that comes with this decision she's going to undertake and willing to do it for,
It seems to me she was afraid, just based on the context in the passages, she's afraid of not doing God's will. She's not afraid of suffering.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
big.
That's where fear belongs. Fear is there for a reason, just like all of these emotions are there for a reason. But the proper object of fear, in a especially supernatural sense, is not annoyance or inconvenience. Suffering, I think it's on a natural level. Yes, it's natural to fear suffering, but in the context of revelation and of the life of grace, the thing really to fear is disobeying God and the suffering of being separated from Him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather than the physical suffering, a sword shall pierce your heart, or the emotional suffering of seeing her son on the cross. As horrible as that is, disobeying God and being separated from Him is more fearful to her.
And
Yeah.
it's good to make clear in the scriptures, whether in the Old Testament or New Testament. Mainly we see this mostly in the Old Testament, where we constantly see fear of God, right? Fear God, fear God. So the idea is exactly what Father Andrew said, right? So it's fearing God in the sense of, understanding His omnipotence and who God is in His very nature, but also not being very fearful of not wanting to fall into, not wanting His will to be done, but also fearing that we wouldn't be able to fulfill that in that
Yeah.
sense.
So being fear of God doesn't mean you run away from God. Fear of God means you respect God. You're in awe of Him.
Yeah.
And because you're in awe of Him, it implies you're in awe of how good He is and how much you want to be sort of close to Him. So it's a sort of irony, because usually when you're afraid of something, you run away from it. Not with God. You're not afraid of God. You fear God in respect. You respect and honor and reverence His will and His, like you said, His omnipotence. It's sort of the opposite of the complaints of Job in the book of Job. The end of that is like, Job, I don't think you really were in awe of God. Let me show you what that looks like. And God appears to him out of the tornado. Mary already had that sort of authentically within her. And she never complained. She just made sure that it was from God. Once it was from God, that's the end of the story. Sword will pierce my heart. You're going to have to go here. You're going to have to go to Egypt. All this stuff. You never hear any complaints from her about the discomfort. If she knows that she's close to God and He's with her, that's the end of the story.
Yeah, where that's really depicted well is Passion of Christ. So obviously Mel Gibson wants to show the redemptrix aspect of Mary. She's co-redemptrix with Jesus. She redeems the world with Jesus by offering herself up while Jesus is dying on the cross. Mel Gibson has Mary say while Jesus is on the cross, Mary says, "Let me die with you," you know, and I think what Mel Gibson is doing there, obviously, is showing that she has her own interior death while Jesus is dying on the cross, and she offers that up to God with Christ, but more so that Mary's life belongs totally to Christ, and that she's willing to die in this life so that she can be with Him forever, and that her life is defined by her communion with Him, you know, her unity with Him, and that she doesn't ever want to let that go. But obviously that, you know, if it's the will of God, then she'll do whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I didn't know she said that in the Passion of the Christ.
I saw that movie one
In the
time when it
movie.
was first in the theater, and I've never watched it
Really?
again.
Really?
I
Yeah.
watch it every year.
I don't want it to be a thing that I'm used to.
Yeah.
I don't want that. That's just my way to think about it. I
Yeah,
don't want to.
yeah.
I don't want to be a thing. I don't want those images to be something that become
Yeah, gospel. Yeah.
not shocking to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe this was a backdrop for Mel Gibson with Peter telling Christ, you know, let me come and die with you.
Let us go and die. No, was it Peter or Thomas?
Thomas, yeah.
Thomas.
Thomas said, let us go and die with him.
Let us go and die with him.
Did Peter say
No,
something
and
like that?
Peter
But
didn't-
Peter,
No,
Peter
no,
said,
no,
even if they
no,
all,
even if they
even
all
yeah,
deny-
yeah.
yeah,
I will
that,
die
okay.
with you.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, come here, come on. I'm sorry.
Reconciliation.
You see what's going on here? You see what I have
I'm
to
not
deal with?
shaking your
Okay, fine. Fair
What
enough.
about devotions to Mary?
Yeah.
Which listen. I think probably all of us pray the Rosary, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I pray the Angelus a lot. I prayed one yesterday, for example. I was with some friends. We prayed the
Nice.
Angelus together. How often do you pray the Angelus?
Every day we do it after Mass, right? So
The angel of the Lord declared
Yeah.
unto Mary,
Youth
right?
groups.
Okay. There are, and then we have like hymns to Mata Mariam that were really part of the devotional system already before even the other ones kind of caught on.
We should sing one
There-
at the end.
There's
And
no, I
we'll
wanted to
follow
do the
up.
Angelus at the end.
Okay.
Whatever. No, you decide. No, I don't care. Anyway, let me ask this.
They can all do the Angelus.
We've discussed this before in the show. Devotional prayer is the prayer that you choose and you like, and the point of doing it is that it nurtures your devotion. It doesn't mean like I love it and every single time I do it I'm in ecstasy, but it means I'm doing this freely as a choice that I want to do this one instead of this one. That's okay. And I saw this. A priest was tweeting this earlier today. He was saying, don't treat your devotion as if everybody has to do it. There are many of them for a reason, really. Because I've seen people push Divine Mercy Chaplet or Rosary or something, and these are all things that are very respectable and great and beautiful, but they're not Mass, and they're not the Our Father, okay? And if somebody prefers one to the other, there are saints. Saint Gemma Galgani, this very, very holy, beautiful, like amazing saint, did not like praying the Rosary. It just wasn't her thing. She liked praying other things. That's okay, please, because you kind of cripple the life of the church by pushing your preference and making it dogmatic. You see that? What's dogmatic? Mass every Sunday, mortal sin if you miss it. Prayer every day of some form. You have to go to confession once a year, minimum, but more than that, even better. These are the things that are absolutely rules. Beyond that, let people be themselves. You break people's hearts when you say it has to be this or you're a sinner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm guessing someone tried that with you.
No, I see it all the time. People come to me like, yeah, I went to communion last week and I didn't go to confession. And I say, okay, what are your sins? And it's like very, very small venial sins. Who told you have to confess every time you receive the Eucharist? The Eucharist forgives sins, but it's a devotional practice. Great.
Yeah.
That people are enforcing on others. Guys, the church has its own rules. The Holy See doesn't need your advice on what to make required and not required. We know what's required. Don't add to that. Don't put burdens on people's backs that the church hasn't done.
Yeah, that's exactly what the Pharisees did.
Yeah.
Now that being said, what's your favorite Marian devotion and why do you like it? What is it about the devotion that you prefer that you like? And then you can share it with people, and that might
Yeah.
sort of ignite something. I think it's a better way to think about it. What about you?
I love the Rosary. Well, yeah, I see the Rosary as being one of those things you can do that's like what Mary did, where she pondered the mysteries of Christ in her heart. Like there's that one time after in the finding in the temple when he says, "Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" And that's actually one of the times that Luke uses, that Luke says that she wondered at what he said. And so, I think she was obviously thinking about the divinity of Christ in some way. And so the Rosary is one way that you could do that, but obviously you can.
So that's
you
what
can
you
do
like.
Lectio Divina.
That's
yeah.
what you like about the Rosary.
That's how
is
I
the
could, because
contemplative
it's a daily commitment to meditating on the mysteries of Christ. And so,
Yeah.
what do you guys think?
I mean, I would say rosary too, but just to change it up.
Don't steal mine.
part. Yeah, that's one.
This guy.
Stop copying.
For me, it would be just simple dialogue with Mary. And
Yeah.
I find that to be very fruitious in my life because she had a big portion of my vocation, of my reversion back to the faith, of a lot of things that I've gone to her for, and she's, really been there for me for, hearing my supplications to God. And I just see it as very therapeutic because I know she's listening, and I know the message will be transferred, just like at the wedding at Cana, right? So
Yeah.
I do that.
My favorite is, and I do it daily actually, it's the 7 Stars of Mary, which I like a lot because it goes through the seven kind of stages, at least major stages where Mary suffered, and you're contemplating them as you're praying the Hail Marys. It's actually similar to the Rosary in that way, but
They have their own beads,
Yeah.
right?
they have their own beads.
Is it 7 each
Yeah.
of the
7
sevens?
each. 7
So
each.
oh, that's a good
And
number.
it's
I
like the
like
ones
that.
we
Yeah.
have, right? Just one.
49
No,
total.
they make a
Yeah.
full one.
Jubilee stuff.
Oh.
They make
Yeah.
a full.
Okay, that's cool.
So, and I like that one a lot because, I think it brings a kind of realness to Mary, that she suffered immensely on earth, and we don't think about that very often. But her suffering brings a kind of realness to her life. It concretizes her, makes her human, and it shows the great sacrifices that she made for God, and that all of us are called to. She's not this legendary figure that just was floating around the earth while Jesus was alive, and so on. But it brings kind of meat to her bones.
That's good.
How about you,
I
man?
like that. I mean,
Oh, yeah, you already said
I
that.
actually like a lot of the stuff that you guys said about the Rosary and stuff. One of the reasons I like the Rosary, in particular, again, I'm copying.
You already picked it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't do
But
that.
I'm going to add. I like the fact that it's sort of informal. There's something informal about it. You can do it while you're walking. You
Yeah.
can do it while you're sitting there.
You can do a decade at a time.
You can do a decade at a time. Like I'll pray sometimes because I used to go to the monastery sometimes and exercise. I'll pray half on the way there and half on the way back. There's something like comforting about that.
Yeah.
And kind of like what you were saying. Like there's something comforting about her. I mean, the thing with we might as well make the sort of theological point while we're here, or the sort of apologetics point. Like the saints are with Christ. Like Jesus said, I'm going to go and prepare a place so that where I am, you also may be. So if I can talk to you and I can ask you to pray for me, and if the saints are where Christ is, I can ask them to pray for me as well. I can communicate with them. We are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses. We are not separated from the people that have died in Christ. And so there's a kind of theological point that some people, thinking that they're smart but falsely, make a point of like, oh no, Christ is the only mediator, or like praying to anybody but Christ is wrong. I don't think there's any basis for that. I think it's kind of just a shallow way to think about things. Christ is not like a greedy person that either me or nobody. No, Mary is part of Christ, and so are all the saints.
And it's all ordered toward him
it's all
in the
ordered
end,
toward him.
and that's what they would want. And I just want to clarify the language, because a lot of people get confused about it. When you say praying to,
Yeah.
it's an intercessory prayer.
Yeah.
So it's not like we pray to Mary or the saints thinking that they have
That they're God.
divine power, but it's an intercessory prayer, like she did, like you mentioned at the wedding at Cana. She interceded for the people at the wedding, and then Christ did a miracle at her request.
And
The word pray just means ask. It means
That's what I was
request.
going to say. It's just
The root of the word pray.
When we say we're praying to somebody, I mean, we used to use that among each other, like in normal vernacular English. I pray
Prithee,
thee,
yeah.
like whatever. Like,
And a lot of people don't know this. It was very, very traditional in the Jewish tradition to go to the tomb of Rachel and ask for her intercession.
yeah,
Until
yeah.
this day.
I don't
know.
The tomb of Rachel
That's
is
cool.
there.
So
and
they're praying.
still
They're
go
praying
there.
to the dead there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And that was there at the time of Christ.
absolutely.
But if it was wrong, why didn't he condemn it and say, no, you
Yeah.
only have to pray to me?
Which
What was I going to say about that?
Um,
There are different
We'll do it
terms.
in English.
We pray asking the intercession of Mary and the saints and so on. Worship, though, is God only.
Yeah.
And Jesus Christ, because he is God, he's the Son of God.
Yep.
So there are things that only belong to Christ.
and there is actually one that, because there's one that belongs only to Mary.
Dolus?
Dulia,
Doulas?
dulia,
Yeah.
hyperdulia only to Dulia is like reverence. That's to
Reverence.
all the saints.
And then super reverence is only to
Yeah,
Mary?
super hyperdulia
That's
is only
cute.
to reverence. Is only
I don't
to
even know what
Mary,
that means,
and
but
then
that sounds cute.
adoration only to God.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Shall we?
All right, we're gonna do the
What are we going to do?
latest purchases.
Oh, that. Shoot. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I got.
We're gonna skip you
Just
from
skip
now
me,
on.
yeah.
We're gonna skip him from now on.
Come on. No,
I'm
he's not
gonna get you
participating
something
then.
on Amazon every Saturday.
Yeah.
Where's the thing? Oh, here.
I got a Bible and a catechism
Your
for,
order. Oh, you're so holy, bro.
for someone. No, it's not for me.
Yeah, he doesn't read the Bible.
I got protein bars. I got protein bars because 2/3 of my meals in any given day are protein
Nice.
bars.
I read the Bible, by the way, guys. Sorry, just head up. Keep going.
I got a bike mount for my GoPro that I just bought.
For TikTok?
Yeah.
You're going to do a rosary while you're biking?
No, not a rosary. Something else.
Holy
What are you gonna
is the
sing?
dwelling place of the Most High.
Yeah, you want to?
It's a little on the longer side.
Hell!
No, come on.
Do you
Why
know
don't
where
we do
this is
a-
in Chaldean?
Why don't we do Betrothal?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. This.
Let's open up
What
to
do you
Yeah,
got?
it's right here. It's right
Let's
here.
get to Chaldean.
Okay, sorry. I'll never make a suggestion.
Don't
ever
ever make a
again.
suggestion
We
again.
might as well sing all of Ramsha.
Garvin, could you defend me, please?
What page is that other one on?
I'm not telling you.
Betrothal?
Oh, I found it, so nice try.
85. Oh, really?
I would have found it
Oh,
anyway.
really?
ثلت يلد ثلالا والانشورا من كل قبل خضري لنكوي وبلايم بستوثد التغقيب المشيحة طلب مني مشبل بقاول لنا رحمي حلمانا يا والتكريم روحنا لندي ليقيم ودارت لنا راحوق ولنشوق نحوبين. Yalla, bye.
Peace.
Bye. Didn't drink it again, man.
Why do I make chai? Why is this?
Don't
we
pour
just
him
change the
chai
name to
anymore.
not chai chat.